Hey everyone, and welcome. Have you ever looked at an app or a website and just wondered, how does it actually work? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the secret action words of code, the fundamental building blocks that make everything happen. Let's get into it.
So you've probably heard that variables are kind of like the nouns in programming, right? They're just containers that hold on to information, names, numbers, that kind of stuff. But that brings up a really big question. If variables just sit there holding data, how does a program actually do anything? How does it add two numbers, or check your password, or put your first and last name together?
The answer? It's all about operators. Yep, that's it. If variables are the nouns, then operators are the verbs. They are the action words. They're the little engines that take all that static data and actually make something happen.
Okay, so let's get a really clear definition here. An operator is just a symbol, like the plus sign or the greater than sign, that, performs an operation. And the values that the operator is working on, we call those operands. So if you see 5 plus 10, the plus sign is your operator, and the numbers 5 and 10 are the operands. See? Simple as that.
All right, first up, let's start somewhere familiar, math. I promise these are the operators you've been using your whole life, and they work pretty much exactly like you'd expect them to inside a program.
So here's a quick look at the usual suspects. You've got your addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, no surprises there. But take a look at the last two on that list. Increment, which is plus plus, and decrement, which is minus minus. These are just super handy shortcuts for adding one or subtracting one, and trust me, you use them all the time in coding, especially for things like counters.
Now there was probably one symbol in that table that you didn't recognize, the modulus operator. It looks like a percent sign, but it has nothing to do with percentages. This little guy is a secret weapon for programmers.
So let's look at that example. If we have a variable x that equals 10, what in the world does x% 3 give us? Well, this operator asks a very specific question. It asks, what is the remainder when you divide 10 by 3? And the answer is 1. Think about it. 3 goes into 10 3 times, which gets you to 9. And what's left over? Just 1. That's what modulus gives you. This is amazing for things like figuring out if a number is even or odd, or for cycling through lists. It's a real coder's tool.
Okay, now that we've got the basics of math down, let's talk about some really cool coding shortcuts. You see, good programmers are always trying to be more efficient, and these next operators are all about writing cleaner, faster, and just better code.
Let me show you exactly what I mean. On the left, we've got the old way. You need to update a variable based on its own value, a super common task. It works, sure, but it feels a little clunky, doesn't it? You have to type out total twice. Now look at the right, the coder's way, total minus profit. It's clean, it's direct, and it does the exact same thing, so much more elegant.
And this awesome little trick isn't just for subtraction. As you can see here, this shorthand works for all the big ones. You can combine that equal sign, which is the assignment operator, with plus, minus, multiply, whatever, to do the math and assign the new value all in one beautiful, simple step.
Okay, so we can do math, we can take shortcuts, but how does a program actually make a decision? How does it get a brain? Well, that's where our next set of operators comes in. These are the ones that let our code start asking questions.
Just think about logging into any website. You type in your password, you hit enter, and boom! The site magically knows if you got it right. But how? It's not magic, it's just pure logic.
What the program is doing is using comparison operators. These are special symbols that compare two different values and give back a super simple answer. It's either true or it's false. That's it. There's no maybe. Is it a match? True. Not a match? False.
So here are the two most fundamental ones. Now the one you absolutely have to remember is the double equals sign. Double equals asks the question, are these two things equal? This is totally different from a single equals sign, which assigns a value. It's a classic rookie mistake. Then you've got its opposite, not equal to, which, you guessed it, checks if two things are different.
Okay, that's great for checking one thing, but logging in is usually more complex, right? You need to know if the username is correct and if the password is correct. Both have to be right. So how do we combine those two questions into one single decision?
For that, we turn to logical operators. Think of these as the glue for our comparisons. The AND operator, the double ampersand, is really strict. It only says true if the conditions on both sides are true.
The OR operator, those two vertical lines, is way more chill. It says true if at least one of the conditions is true. And finally, the NOT operator, the exclamation point, just flips the result. It turns true into false and false into true.
So you might be thinking that operators are just for numbers and logic problems, but they actually have one more really cool trick up their sleeve. They can also work with text.
And here, our old friend the plus sign makes a comeback, but with a new job. When you put a plus between two pieces of text, or strings as they're called in programming, it doesn't try to do math. Instead, it just joins them together one after another. This is called concatenation. So as you see here, it takes Bob and Stuart and just smushes them together into one single string, Bob Stewart.
All right, so let's just step back for a second and look at the whole toolkit we've just assembled. We've explored the complete set of tools that programmers use every single day to build logic and make things happen in code. We've covered the 5 core types. We started with arithmetic operators to do all our calculations. Then we saw how assignment operators make our code so much more efficient. We learned how to give our code a brain with comparison operators and how to combine those questions with logical operators. And finally, we saw how the string operator lets us work with text.
It's kind of amazing when you think about it. Every single time you play a game, check your email, or stream a video, there are millions, maybe billions, of these tiny little operations firing off every second. From the simplest math problem to the most complex AI, it all boils down to these fundamental building blocks.
And that really is the most exciting part. These aren't just some abstract symbols on a screen. They are powerful tools for creation. They are the simple verbs that, when you string them together, can build absolutely incredible things. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with them?